It's now time for Energy Insights, where you get an inside view and local perspectives of all the oil and gas progress going on in the Mid-Ohio Valley. This program is being brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association and can be heard every Saturday at 9 a.m. on local radio WMOA AM 1490 and ESPN radio WJAW FM 100.9 and AM 630. It's now time for the show. Here's Johnny Wharf, your local host.
Johnny Wharf on another edition of Energy Insights. We're pleased to have Melinda Johnson from JF Deem Oil and Gas, and this is a company maybe that you can talk a little bit and the relation to the oil and gas industry, particularly in this local area.
Yes, I work for a traditional, conventional West Virginia producer. My employer's been around. Well, he's almost 90, and he's been involved in oil and gas virtually all of his life, which his father also was involved in oil and gas. We produce mostly conventional wells in Ritchie County, West Virginia, a few in Gilmer and a few in Doddridge. I run the business office, so I get to see a little bit of everything coming and going with the industry, and from the taxes to income to marketing, what the prices do on oil and gas to people like us who really depend on that monthly income to be able to make our payroll, pay our taxes, and also give back to our community.
And those are great points to make. And again, this is Melinda Johnson. Talk a little bit. I know even your family. We talked about local producers and your business that you work for being in West Virginia, but you have ties to, obviously, we always say the other side of the river, which isn't very far. But talk a little bit about that.
Well, I sort of take a tri-state view of things. My son works for a large producer in Pennsylvania, and he also branches out into Virginia. So I see the kind of things that are happening with those larger producers now, looking at the industry completely differently than I do, but we still deal with a lot of the same issues, taxes and regulation. And then my husband works for a local Ohio producer right here in Washington County, and so I see what happens in Ohio, which I see a big difference in regulation than West Virginia. And then I work, with oil and gas issues in West Virginia, which, again, as far as production, it's all done the same way, but how our state affects what we do and how we do it changes in all three states.
I love the tri-state reference to Ohio, West Virginia, and Virginia. We normally don't get that tri-state, but a son that works in the industry in Virginia, a husband that works in Ohio.
And Anthony's in Pennsylvania.
Oh, in Pennsylvania.
Yes,
okay.
Pennsylvania. He's in charge of assets in both those states. So.
Okay. And then something at the beginning that you mentioned, Melinda, was being involved in the community. And I think it's so important to realize that these local producers, these local businesses that are related to the industry are right here where our feet are, and they're going to our churches, and they're out there being involved in the community, and how important that is.
I do a lot of things in the community because my boss has always allowed it and encouraged it, because he knows how important that is. And as a company, we get requests monthly, if not weekly, with small groups needing help, whether it be a food bank, whether it be a local football team's boosters, the symphony orchestra coming into town needs a little bit of help, all those kind of things. They come to us, and we always try to support that. Sometimes it's like in Ritchie County, the fair, homecoming. Any of those type of things, we try to support them in some way. I do a lot of volunteer work. I work golf outings that raise money for groups, whether they be industry groups or community groups. I belong to organizations that are educational for us in the industry, but then we turn around and do something that raises money for scholarships. Those scholarships go to kids trying to get started in college, or perhaps they go to a student who's already in college and finds that after a couple of years, they look at those loans and that $1,000, $2,000 scholarship helps buy books for the semester ahead of them. And every organization I belong to that's involved with the industry is involved with their community.
All right, my job is to extend the message to the listeners out there. I certainly, sitting here looking at you, feel your passion, and I hope the listeners feel it as well in your words, and very well put. And we appreciate your time on Energy Insights. This is Melinda Johnson from JF Deem Oil and Gas.
Thank you for listening to Energy Insights, brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association. Tune in every Saturday at 9 a.m. on WMOA and ESPN Radio WJAW as Johnny Wolf brings you your local and inside perspectives of the oil and gas progress going on in the Mid-Ohio Valley.